Approval of the agenda. Tracy. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. The minutes from our June 7th meeting. Changes, anything, if anybody's seen any?
I didn't see this.
I didn't. Okay, Doug.
I didn't see anything.
Dick, Doug, and Brad. All those in favor, then say aye. Opposed? Okay. We'll have some public comment. I see we have some people here. Try to keep it to 3 minutes. We'll do it for half an hour. If anybody here has.
Maybe not.
Nobody's public. Well, there's nobody, well, no, there's nobody in the archives because we didn't open up the room, did we? Okay. Great. Public comments over. We have no other supervisor here. 5 is good, so you extension, here we go.
Morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for having us. My name is Carrie Weiss. I probably have met most of you prior. I am probably almost 3 months into my new role as the area director for Area 5, Polk County, to be included in that. Today, our job is to sort of report out the ag performance per se, and then also introduce to you all our new educator that we have brought on just recently. I do want to just highlight a couple of things before we do start. One, being that I'm still new, I'm doing a lot of sort of, I guess, analysis and trying to figure out where we are as an organization, what we're doing as our own team and so forth. So we still have room to grow and some things to still do and work on. So we're not final in the way that we also are performing. Secondly, we do have some transition with our staff. And so we're also, looking to grow and make some changes that way. And finally, the Institute, as you probably also know, the Ag Institute has gone through quite a bit of change in the past year and a half. And yesterday, in fact, we had an all-day meeting with those leaders and the other area leaders to sort of discuss these changes and where they're at, the state of their world. I was actually very reassured with that. And so all things said, I think we're moving in the right direction. I absolutely would welcome any conversation and dialogue with that outside of here, probably because today is just for reporting purposes, but I'd love to be able to grow what it is that Polk County needs together with this committee and or other staff members too. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to our probably most esteemed colleague, Ryan.
I haven't heard that word in a long time, so I don't know if I can live up to that. Thank you. So with that, I'll pass the handout around. Just a couple of programs that I was going to highlight before we turn it over to Becky and any questions Carrie has. So traditionally in the ag world, more of our work, I shouldn't say more of our work, but more of our in-person programming happens over the winter months before planting season, before farmers are trying to cut first cut hay, those types of things. So the last program I was able to slip in, we called it our Emerging Tech Field Day. It was a farm on the Polk St. Croix line that recently installed robots, chance for farmers to come in, see that technology, ask some questions. It was a unique situation because the farm was in the middle of the install, which sometimes is good because you see the real world part of it. Sometimes that's bad because they're still working out the kinks and all that fun stuff that goes with such a big change. But it was a good time to see it because they're milking half their cows traditionally in the stall barn, milking half in the robot. So it was a good time to ask some questions about that. But now that said, there's a couple things I wanted to highlight out of that. One is it was about the technology, but really we did this because of the feedback we had been receiving. Some of the questionnaires I put out last fall asking dairy farmers their input on what issues they're seeing. Labor came out a lot. Do we reinvest in the farm at this point or not? So the technology represents that. If you do this, you need to decide, are you committed to milking cows for the next several years or not. You don't install a robot and milk cows for 6 months and decide, we're gonna quit milking cows. It's a big decision. Labor is a continuing issue in all industries, but especially in agriculture. So we're not advocating this as the one and only answer. We're just putting this out there as this is one potential solution farms are looking at. It comes with a price tag. You have to make your own decisions on how you want to balance that out, what you want to pay for labor versus what you can invest in technology. So that was one of the main drivers that we did this particular event. Also, it was good timing that over the winter, we had worked with one of our state specialists that has an interest in this type of technology. So I was able to adapt the resources he had put together, repurpose them, repackage them, tailor them a little bit more to this particular event. So it's not a one-off. It was we're taking resources that we're developing for other things and repurposing them. And then the next program, we called it the Reproduction Roadshow. And I always forget that I'm used to talking to egg people and farmers. So if you're not an egg person or farmer, you might look at that title and scratch your head. But really this was for veterinarians, dairy industry professionals, and how we improve fertility, work with farmers and those types of things. So this was more focused on how we can help those service providers deliver this information to their clientele. So we had a specialist from the UW Vet School travel up. My former graduate advisor is also still at UW-Madison, so he traveled up and the three of us did this event together. So if you have any questions, then let me know, but we cover different things. Again, what's the right technology you want to use? So there's things out there. You can select the gender of the calf the cow's going to have. Do you want a male calf? Do you want a female calf? Those types of things. There's costs and benefits to that, but how do we help farmers make those decisions? So that was one of the main drivers in that program. The rest of it, feed price and interest rates. We've tried to develop some information on that. That's not the program I wanted to highlight, but just let you know that we are attempting to get a few things put together on that. If you look to the backside, our state dairy program, we work together, colleagues across the state. So that's what the Badger Dairy Insight series is all about, us collaborating together to develop some of these resources, webinar, fact sheets, those types of things. And so the ones highlighted here are the ones I was involved in. It's not all of that series, but the ones that I participated in, either facilitating, presenting, writing up information, so on and so forth. And that's going to start up again. So we're going to start earlier this year. It's going to be mid-September, third Tuesdays at 11. And we plan to spread these out a little bit more than what we did the previous year. So with that, the committee, Carrie, has any questions, anything I glanced over?
Yeah, no, I was just going to reiterate here too. I mean, I think Brian did a really good job with this snippet, just to say he identified a need. He addressed it in a very diverse way in the form of various field days, addressing it in presentations, state resources coming toward this problem as well. And then also, sort of the battery of different, platforms, the series, the webinar series as well. So I think he's doing a really good job of trying to be diverse and meeting needs. And so I think this is part of, what we're attempting to do. Once upon a time, Extension was really good about bringing people together and in place in community and teaching and educating. And so right now we have that capability still, but we have also obviously discovered that there are other platforms too. So some of the things that he's doing are pretty incredible, I think. And we just look to continue to serve and welcome that feedback so that we can find out how to best serve Polk County too. Questions?
So this committee will realize how this statement hurts me, but this is exactly what I'm looking for when you come to say what you've done, what you've been doing. So that's what I'm looking for.
Thank you.
Is that the robot one? Was that at the Newman Farm?
Yes.
Okay, was that the Newman Farm?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There's a couple other farms talking about it. Again, it's not the only solution. There's a price tag.
Oh, yeah.
I think the timing is right for Newman's because they have children interested in the farm. So again, that future planning piece, whereas not to pick on Brad, but Brad, I don't know that you wanted to install robots and be committed to milking cows for another 10 years. And that's still a decision.
Not even another 10 days.
Yeah.
Not when you get bigger up.
So,
Politician now.
Thank you. Yes, that's,
Politics takes a back seat in 10 days.
that's really good.
We also just real quickly wanted to introduce our new educator, Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Brathel. I am, this is my second day, so pretty excited to be here. I grew up in St. Croix County. I farm with my husband and his family just outside of Woodville. Worked for St. Croix County for a while with the farmer leds, and so I know some of the county folks here with Eric and whatnot. So I'm excited to be here and work on some programming and yeah.
Any questions for Becky and or Ryan, I should say as well.
Great. We'll see
See?
we'll see a page like this. when we come back.
Maybe not extensive.
Oh,
With the drought conditions and with milk price dropping and corn price increasing again, have you been getting a lot of questions, or are you trying to put anything together to help guide people in purchasing decisions on, you know, should they be buying corn right now? Because we don't get rain in another 10 days, it's gonna be pretty grim out there.
so we're starting to talk about it. I don't have anything at the moment. Again, in my role in the more dairy animal side of it, looking at things, how do you do a feed inventory? Is your first cut hay going to be enough, or, you know, how short are you going to be in those types of things? So talking about it a little bit more in those terms. Now that we do have a crops educator, we're kind of in between time. You know this just as well as me, that like sorghum Sudan are planting some of these emergency crops. We have till what, July 1st, July 15th. I'm not ready to tell people to go rip up a field and start reseeding things, but it's definitely a conversation to have. And how are you going to allocate that feed? So, you know, what quality goes to the lactating herd? What can we feed dry cows and heifers with? I can put something together quicker on.
Well, I just think, with the milk price falling, corn's gained $1 in the last 2 weeks right now on the cash market for fall corn. That's kind of a big deal. You know, and if you look at a drought map, kind of this region is in more severe drought than the rest of the state. So it may not be a big deal for somebody in, say, or they're always wet in the middle of the state, Marathon, Clark counties, but it might be a bigger deal for us.
Can I object to, I know that yesterday they also brought up that there are certain series that are taking place, that they have done some work like this across the state. And I think that we could probably work in conjunction with that as well and try to bring some of that information into.
I just think it's good to get stuff out there. You know, what are alternatives to extending your forages? Because everything that I've heard around the state, actually, first crop is pretty light, second crop's not looking very good.
Right.
At least here.
Okay, then we can talk more, because the corn price part of it makes it harder, because a lot of times the alternative is to chop more of that and take that as your corn silage instead of grain.
If we get corn.
Right.
If we don't get rain, it's starting to, depending on where you're at, sandy ground starting to roll.
thank you.
Morning.
Give her a heck.
Give her a hack. Well, Chairman O'Connell, I guess we'll just jump into 7A. If we get through all of this prior to the public hearing, but I'll be brief. I want to thank you all for your input and work and direction on the Any feasibility study. Didn't know what the outcome would be, but we learned last night. One final deliverable from our consultants, SRF, is a final report. And they'll also consider what was shared last night in that final report. So I did hand out last night's presentation. Expect that final report within the next month. This final presentation, we posted on the website this morning as well, in the spirit of transparency. So that's about it. In terms of other projects in the trail network plan, I guess we'll start pivoting towards the additional trails for equestrians in the Sterling area, as well as continue to work on our ongoing projects. Questions? How we doing this morning?
We're doing good.
Okay,
That went
it's a
through.
late night last night.
That was too bad. So that pretty much does A and B, doesn't it?
Well, no, B, I have in your packet, and if you notice, there was a, yes.
You said we'll work on some of the other projects where I've been in the parking lot and driven by the campgrounds at Summers Lake. Is that put together now out on the trail?
That one I can't really report on without a recent
Some culvert
update.
that wasn't done.
Yeah. Can I follow up with you on that? That was still a debate between our foresters and the Parks Department. So back to you on that, Doug. That's
Scares
okay.
me, but we're up that airwave. It's in Brad's district.
Yeah, Summers Lake, I haven't had a recent update. I have it in my notes, but I just can't recall.
That's fine. We'll keep it on our.
But yeah, I'll continue to work on the update of all the projects. And that matrix we put together, that little table, I think that's a nice little tool to convey a lot of information quickly. And yes, that. This one. Yeah, but I actually have notes to each of those projects, which I could share with you at subsequent meeting. 7B is refers to this map that was in your packet. If you recall, that's project B2 within the Comprehensive Trail Network Plan. That's the project where we're collaborating with the Woolly Mountain Bike Club, as well as the city of St. Croix Falls, to build mountain biking trails. If you recall, the original site was going to be behind the St. Croix Falls High School, and they were trying to secure a blanket easement with the church on the church property. Well, they've had to pivot from that project, and now they have looked at a new site, Erratic Rock. So that's right off the Gandy. If you notice the within the map, the Gandy's the red trail there. So that's right when you come up off the Interlink Trail. They're proposing a new loop trail off the Gandy towards the east. It's going to be professionally designed with erosion control measures, nearly 1 mile of new trail, and enhancing, there's already existing trail out there, enhancing the other mile of existing trail with more stable grading and switchbacks. So with that, pivot on the design, I would need your endorsement as a committee, which would trigger an amendment to the MOU, because we have an MOU between the county, the city of St. Croix Falls, and the Woolly for this project. In fact, they both have skin in the game. I believe the city's contributing 10,000. Oh, back up. The city's contributing 7,300, and the Woolly's contributing 10,000. So it's basically an amendment to the comprehensive trail network plan. We're changing the site. And that is the request.
So who owns that land now that they want to move it to? Is that city owned or is it?
That is city-owned land, yes. sir.
City owned.
Yeah, it's right behind the cemetery.
Sorry.
Just
I got the dentist.
I freak out with noises, so I apologize.
So it's city owned at least. So
yeah,
that's
it's just north
probably,
of the cemetery there.
okay, so that would be part of their, what they're giving or whatever they use.
They'd have an MOU with the city then.
Yeah, well, we have an existing MOU, but it identifies the elder site behind the high school. So we're pivoting to a new site. So I think it's a good practice to amend the MOU.
To
ensure-
this site.
Yes, sir.
So that would be for maintenance too and stuff, or they do that.
Saying
maintenance?
it's, the club or the city will be doing maintenance.
Okay.
That's in the original MOU as
That's
well.
in the original MOU.
Although O and M is on their,
Do we need a resolution for that or do we just have to do it so they can change the MOU, amend that?
right.
So Vince would amend the MOUs that the MOUs go through Vince. don't they?
Yes, that is correct. So we've already have an existing one. I put upon your recommendation, if you do support this, the city will draft a new MOU, run it by legal, and then ensure that we have all the signatures. Yeah,
Okay, legal. We're gonna run it by you. Does it look good?
we have a whole process.
Yeah, we send it through a process.
It's a whole process.
The whole process. Okay.
Many, many eyes.
What does the county have towards this one in our
This is a 50,000.
50,000?
The total project cost is 67,320.
Okay. City. Fluff it. So consensus, any, to have them move that MOU? What's everybody think? Yes? Yes? Yes, 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 all right. So by consensus.
Yeah, just one more question, for Bob, on this, but it goes over the 67.3, which entity foots the over budget?
The city of St. Croix Falls.
Okay.
And you know what? If you think about it, it's adjacent to their existing trail loops, which is a destination for those particular recreational user groups. City of St. Croix Falls is becoming a destination for that. So this will just enhance those existing recreational assets. So I think it's probably a better option than the previous site. So.
Yeah, there was a lot of work in that other one. By the church and stuff, that's pretty big hills and stuff.
Yeah, and then there's some private ownership. Yeah, there's some
To maintain
challenges.
it and stuff would have been tough, sure. All right,
I think that was the issue.
so
was-
that moves on. They're building at the information center,
They are.
parking lot back together. They're starting to put the building up, so that's going. Okay. So that's that one.
Amanda's here, however,
Do we need her? Do we just read that article and kind of we're stuck like you said last
We
night?
know where we're at.
well, she was gonna give you an update on the tax
On how many and
delinquents.
stuff.
Yeah. However, we only have like 3 minutes. I don't know.
Won't take much longer.
Oh,
Let's go for it.
We do
let's
it?
have, let's, yeah, yes.
Good.
Great. I'm in.
Perfect.
So
I understand that yesterday at the board meeting, you got the basic information about the law and the repercussions from the US Supreme Court. Basically, the WCA is having a meeting on this, or a kind of a meeting on it. I think it's July 27th. It's the boardroom for July. So the attorneys will be talking about it then. My understanding is they're going to try to get the law that we have, Act 216, cleaned up so it's more specific on the actual steps, because there's a lot of grounds for interpretation on it now. We don't know exactly how many properties we'd have to go. We will start around September 1st, as long as everything's moving forward and we want to move forward at that time. We've been continuing to push to get people on payment plans and such like that. So we really aren't any further behind than if we had done this process last year. In fact, I think we'd still have about the same number when I looked, properties. We'll send out 2 more notices before then. So we do get a lot of payments in, which is why I didn't bring a list of specific parcels. We send out a notice right around July 1st for all delinquent parcels, and then the state required notice goes out the first week of September. And we also send a notice for anybody that's eligible for the foreclosure process, stating you're going to be eligible for foreclosure. We're going to be starting it at this time. Needs to be paid by this to not be included in the process and to avoid a fee, or you can get on a payment plan, and then we set up a payment plan depending on how much they owe. So that's kind of where we're at. There's not much difference, I'm guessing, so.
But we're just not taking them to sell it anymore.
Right, we're gonna kind of wait
to
to see, and that's why since we start in September, that will give us a good idea of what's going on the state level and the county level. I know one thing Andy Phillips had said is that it's gonna be very important that the counties all do it basically the same, because if you start deviating, that opens you up for lawsuits, so. And that with 72 counties will be the kicker. So.
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Go ahead.
But from reading that article from the
Mhm.
lawsuit in the Supreme Court,
Right,
it never was quite clear. I didn't think I guess it called it the excess. We've got our delinquent taxes and we have our costs, and then they were talking about.
Right.
We're-
so currently homeowners are only qualified to get the excess tax, the excess profit on a property after it's sold if it was a homesteaded property and they signed a notice sent. That changed with the Act 216 about 2 or 3 years ago. Kind of lose track with COVID, when exactly it passed. And it said now anybody is eligible to get the refund of the funds, and that you have to hold the funds 5 years and they can come back anytime within 5 years. The question in the act was about liens. Some counties interpreted it to mean that you had to pay out liens first. Some counties interpreted it to mean that the liens are wiped out when you do the process. That was a big source of contention. We already had, so the Supreme Court's impacted, I think it was 11 states more than others. We are not one of those 11 states because our state already had stuff in law that allowed people to get their proceeds. With Act 216, it made it more broad. So that's really kind of where we're at, is clarifying Act 216, finding out exactly what they mean, if liens are included, if liens are not included, how you go about paying those out. If you have $30,000 in liens and you get a $15,000 profit, how do you allocate the liens payments out, et cetera. So that's really what the Act 216 is looking at clarifying. And my understanding in Minnesota is they maybe didn't have anything to that to pay back the taxpayer if they requested the excess proceeds, which is why the suit went all the way to the Supreme Court.
So you could get rid of your liens and then buy your house back. You could have $200,000 in liens. They can't get you come to the tax deed sale and buy it for 50 grand.
Most of the time, if there's a big lien, they pay the taxes and then they do their foreclosure. It's a lot of times it's more the liens that are on it are small, maybe dental liens, personal liens from someone who you did work for you and that you never paid them, stuff like that. Those tend to be the ones that we get in this county. Some of the bigger counties, they might have more larger liens. Basically for us, if there's a mortgage on it, they tend to pay it, because if you have to pay 10 grand to keep a property where you have a mortgage of 100,000, it's, logical just to pay the back taxes and do your own foreclosure. So, which is good for us.
So the 3-year part is probably gonna be gone, or other than 45 days and 90.
Well, that still will stand. That will still stand, but what it is that we can't take the profit and put it in the county's budget. We have to hold it in like a trust account for 5 years before the county can use it and consider it their funds,
Okay,
whatever that profit ends up being.
so we're like a realtor bank or something.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, what we would be, okay.
Yep, so. Malia, is that pretty much?
Okay, That was good. Yes, thank you.
All right. Yep.
Went over by a minute.
Pretty good. I took a lot.
Go ahead,
Good.
Jason.
All right,
Let's open it up. The first one, yep.
okay, so the first one is Sophie Rupp and Harrison Wagon Seal. Request a conditional use permit under section 42-237 parentheses C parentheses 1 parentheses P of the Polk County Code of Ordinances to extend the number of tourist rooming house rental days for a parcel located at 2261 20th Street in section 10, town 35 north, range 15 west, town of Johnstown. Parcel number is 028-00214-0000. The parcel is 0.71 acres in size. Claire's got it up here on the map. Claire, can you pull it down on the map? The other way a little bit farther, or sorry, no, you're right. Yep, keep going. So you can see the property is accessed by a very long private road, comes all the way up from 20th. And that's the town road, about half a mile north of there. It is on North Pipe Lake. North Pipe Lake is a class 2 lake. Now can you zoom in to the property? So the dwelling on site is right here. The dwelling was permitted in 1994. It's a 36 by 36 foot building. The garage is up here. It's a 24 by 24 garage permitted in 1996. There's a 10 by 30 deck on the lake side of the dwelling. From the dwelling to the water, there's 30 feet of elevation change, so it's quite steep there as well. The property has a 2-bedroom holding tank in that, or that's what it was originally permitted as, along with the dwelling was 2 bedrooms. The holding tank was installed in 1994 when the new home was permitted as well. The property has no wetlands or floodplain on site. And the right to rent law allows them to rent for 180 days. And it allows the committee to establish that 7-day minimum rental period. And that if they want to, our current ordinance, and that is an administrative permit review process for 174 days a year. But that has a provision of 7 days per month from May to September. So that's the reason for the conditional use permit and why they're in front of you. The applicants were not able to be here, but I do have an email and that from Harrison. And it's basically a letter of representation. And then it goes like this: attaches the letter we received from you. Appreciate the advance notice. Unfortunately, we'll be out of town for this scheduled meeting and have asked our friend Mark Bruner to attend on our behalf. Thanks much, Harrison Wing. So I paraphrase that a little bit, but that's going to be exhibit 1. That's the only comment that the county received for or against the request, and that after providing the proper class 2 notice in the newspaper and to the adjoining property owners within 300 feet of the property before the hearing today. I guess one other thing I'll add is that the property owners purchased it in March of 2023.
Exhibit 2, we have Johnstown.
Exhibit 2 and that Johnstown would be with the rezone.
That, oh, the rezone.
Yep.
Oh, I went one too far. Page, all right. Then on this one, just have all this. They didn't draw where the tank was in the. Do they have a private well or a shared well? Do we know?
Not sure about well, I looked at that, Chairman O'Connell, and
Okay.
that's the holding tank is like laying in right here along the driveway. The driveway's coming in here because it's kind of like a J hook and that tank is like right there above the tube.
Okay.
So. But yeah, well, When the sewer was installed, it was a vacant lot at that time and it just said, well, to be, installed in accordance with the sewer requirements, so
Okay.
setback requirements. Mhm.
Any questions on his, then we'll have the applicant.
Yeah, so Mark Bruner's here to speak on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. State your name and stuff for the
Mark.
recording, please.
Mark Brunner, here on behalf of Harrison Wagonsville and Sophie Rupp about the property that Jason kind of explained everything to you. They purchased the property not too long ago, as he said, and they had their realtor contact Polk County to make sure that when they purchased it, they were able to go through the process to get a conditional use permit and use the property to rent more than 7 days a month. So that was kind of part of their due diligence in purchasing the property, just that we would have to go through this process. Is kind of what you guys had explained to them in their conversations. I guess Jason kind of went over all the basics. If you guys have any questions, I could answer them for you.
Do you happen to know where the well is or if it's a shared well? Some of these small lots have shared wells.
Yeah, I would assume it's private, but I do not have that information.
Okay. It's just. Let's go through our checklist, should we? Rooming houses. I think it's supposed to, didn't know what's in this. That's why I didn't see it right away. Is it new? Does everybody have a checklist? Let's start. Right down through it, huh? Or not the findings of facts, those we do last. Maintain public health, we should be all right with that question. The increase of dust, gases, vibrations, no heavy equipment because it's existing. No neighbors, so they didn't say anything about more traffic with the rental, so we.
No, and it's not gonna be any more guests than were designed to live in the property, and it would be a full-time property if they wanted to live there, so it wouldn't be any different than the personal use for the property. And they'll be using it personally too throughout the year, so.
Look at here, what there.
6, yes.
It's only a 2-bedroom, so they're asking for a lot of other stuff, yeah. So that what's, okay. Well, we'll have to ask Jason, yeah, to make sure that's right. I'm just gonna go through that, he answers. Water pollution and sedimentation. Existing would not apply. Conducted to use, I mean, just if we go through the list, if anybody has one of those questions, want it answered. There is no floodplain on that, I guess that's a Jason question, okay.
No.
Was there any with that steep slope and stuff, are there steps and things? on
Yeah,
that?
there's a nice quality built staircase that's
Okay.
easy to navigate down to the dock. And then it's bordered with trees and brush line. So you're basically kind of funneled into that area. You can't really, you
To go
wouldn't get
down
down into an unsafe location.
Okay. Okay, the road for the public interest. The land uses on both sides are residential. That's at 132. Tank. Okay. So then the other is that they're asking for 6 people. That's not gonna work.
Well, I think in that regard, because it's a holding tank and the alarm's working and it needs to get pumped anyway, there is 3 bedrooms in the cabin. So being that it's not a conventional septic system that would potentially be overloaded by what its designated use was, this would just require more frequent emptying of the holding tank.
But go ahead.
Can we clarify that point? Because Jason said it was 2 bedrooms.
It was a
now
2-bedroom.
3. Been approved.
So the health department would have to do to raise that number. To make it, or the building inspector would be one of our conditions.
The building inspector would have to do an inspection to verify that there is 3 legal bedrooms in that building, yeah. But the sewer was permitted as a 2-bedroom, so.
The permit and stuff was for a 2-bedroom. All right.
So I guess the way that it used to be done where I would think it was years ago now before all these things changed, but on a holding tank, that wasn't as critical to follow that bedroom rule because you were getting it pumped no matter what when it was full.
That was always critical, the amount of bedrooms for the amount of
exactly.
people. So it was always based on that. The amount of people was always based on that.
The tank could be possibly used for more bedrooms and that due to the size of the tank. However, in that right now, the permits are showing 2 bedrooms was what the dwelling was gonna be, so anyway. And we
Yeah,
have
so
not
that's-
had any inspections done or anything to prove that it's got a 3-bedroom,
Yeah, we don't have any proof to know. So that would have to be a condition or something then, if they wanted to up that.
Then my next question, Mr. Chair, is if the bedrooms haven't been approved, have our other on the list, let's say surveying, any of those been taken care of?
The survey,
Yeah.
the site survey?
Yeah.
He's working with Logan right now on that. I think they had it last week they had worked through.
It has not been completed as of now that I'm aware, so, yep. The property corners are not marked yet, so it has been surveyed when it was originally subdivided out, it's lot 16, and that, but I don't believe those markers have been located and clearly marked yet.
They have the 2 on the roadside, but they were looking for the lakeside ones because of the slope on the hill, they were up further than they were originally thinking. So he's been emailing Logan with the progress on that.
So I don't know if we would do this conditions or put this one off until we know how many bedrooms are there. Otherwise, all these numbers will change. And if you want these numbers, you would have to have that verified for us.
The committee could definitely make that a condition, yeah.
A condition, but.
Or, you guys could postpone until you have all the
So we have,
information.
we need the site survey, we need the tank, the number of bedrooms. We'd have to know where the well is, private. So how does everybody feel about some of that?
Yeah, I think we need to postpone until we find out. If they're asking for 6, we need to verify there's 3 bedrooms.
That we have to verify it, okay.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Brad because they haven't verified where we're going. You can't hardly give out a conditional use until it comes
So we
in.
know what's there.
What's on our list.
That's
Yeah,
verified.
2 or 3 bedrooms is a big deal. I mean, both
Yeah.
ways.
Yep,
In the tank.
Yep.
tank and stuff. So you know if they've had a well inspection and a sewer inspection?
Well, they just
When bought
purchased
to
it,
Test the
so.
water and all that.
Yeah, I'm sure they went through that stuff when they purchased it, but I don't
That's
have that.
probably something they should have brought to us so that we know that it's, the tank is good. The water's private. We'll have to know the lot lines. We'll have to know the amount of bedrooms before we could do any of that. In the parking, yeah, I don't, yeah, parking, that was on the drawing.
Two votes. So,
So they would have to show that they have enough parking room. Which looks like they probably do.
I mean, if you have a 2-bedroom septic on file, that's likely what's still there.
Oh, guaranteed, yeah. And that, the sanitary permit, clerk can even pull it up if you want.
So I'm just thinking if we just make that adjustment now, because it was a 3-bedroom,
Not that one.
they were thinking that it was a 3-bedroom septic.
You click on that square box there and then hit the parcels over to the right. Right by the eye. There you go. Hit that one, hit the parcel. Lot 18. Yep. And then scroll down on the list to hit that sewer permit number 218396. There. And that number of bedrooms 2.
So if there's,
Scroll down to that quick, because then you'll see the drawing.
Oh, they'll have a drawing there too.
There's a tank. See here, it says no well to be
No well
installed
to
with
it,
proper
yeah.
setbacks, so, yeah.
what does that mean?
Well, they did, the well wasn't installed when the sewer
then
was.
then it's a private well because it wasn't there yet.
But we don't know about the neighbor could be hooked to it too. We don't know if that, the original person, if the well is to the north on a lot of these lots, then the 2 neighbors would share one well. So it's.
Oh.
Because these were, some of these lots were pretty small and tight. We used to have a lot of trouble on the first bunch of tours, really, when we started, that was a big thing to have shared wells and stuff that we wouldn't allow it.
Can we find that information on there?
It's not, that's a DNR permitted deal, so we don't have that. on
So it
file.
wouldn't be on like the neighboring property permit that they have their own well, or find out
Be
through you?
required to be on there.
Yeah, so I guess if you guys wouldn't be able to make an exception on that because it is a holding tank and it will be pumped frequently, then I think we just have to go with 4 guests, 2 guests per bedroom.
But we still need the
We
site
still
survey
need- Yeah,
and the well and the parking area defined. So we still need those 3 things. So that would give you time to decide if you're gonna go to 3 bedrooms.
If what?
If you wanna go to 3 bedrooms, yeah, too, if you get it, decide if it's the building inspector, if it's a legal bedroom,
But they're not gonna swap out the septic tank.
you wouldn't have to.
Oh, if it's a legal 3-bedroom, then we could
You could do
do
6.
6.
Yeah, yeah, the tank is sized enough for a 3 bedroom. Too, I mean, it would fit.
The tank is
you
actually
have to
big enough to
prove
go
it.
up to 4 bedrooms, and that, however, and that it's clear that it was permitted as a 2-bedroom.
I
So they evidently had plans of building a 2-bedroom dwelling at that time.
Yeah.
And we haven't got anything to prove that it has been actually built as a 3-bedroom. Maybe the basement was finished. So
Yeah.
that's what I think the committee is looking for,
Okay,
is confirmation of how many legal bedrooms there is, but they would not have to upgrade their sewer system if it was a 3-bedroom.
makes sense. So would you guys be willing to make those a condition on approval, or would this require another meeting?
another meeting.
I think another meeting to make sure that we have all that. And then if you do have the 3-bedroom by then, the survey being done. Because if something's off and we approve it, then there we sit. Now you're approved, but you're not approved.
But approving based on the fact that those conditions are met. There's only a few conditions that need to be met. that basically it's all been gone through. He's communicated with Logan. They're working through that right now on the site staking. They just need to find those stakes. So that's just about
What
finished.
if it's off 5 feet to the building's 2 feet from the lot line, that we gotta not give it to you. So I guess we're looking at it that way.
But that would be the,
Shared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shared well.
Well,
that would be the condition. So then it wouldn't meet the condition, right? If that
But if
happens.
something is off, then the conditions aren't
Yeah.
met and it just starts
Yeah.
over again. If
Gonna
one of those
snowball.
conditions aren't met, it isn't like they're gonna have the permit to go forward. I think, I agree with Tracy. I think we're better off just, giving them the list of here's what we need. Is it a shared well? Where's the well? Parking, lot line stakes, all of those, because, yeah, bedrooms, these are things that we need to know.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess I'm asking you to let us finish it on our timeline, which would take a week versus waiting another month for the next meeting. That's a big difference for on their end. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, they just purchased it, basically. I mean,
But they purchased it with the intent to rent it based on conversations they had with the county. And then they came in a month ago to get this permit and then because of the lawsuit and what was going on, you guys potentially weren't even gonna accept it, so they're on a timeline where they'd like to kind of get moving on it.
Well, it's almost, we need the information. I mean, that's the bottom line is there's not enough information to do.
So
The application and that was received by our office on May 17th.
Yeah.
And then we got almost 3 weeks in public noticing because we have to get it to the newspaper. We
Yeah.
gotta have staff time to be able to take and draft the notices and that. So I think that our staff, not myself and that, but our, Nicole and whatnot did a great job processing it
yes.
and timing that.
yeah, I agree. They did it. That was as fast as it could be. We're completely happy with that. I'm just saying, moving forward, I think we could have these conditions met in a week. Where then this is gonna get pushed to the next hearing in a month. And it'd be the same outcome.
Next meeting we probably won't have a first one in July because it's the 5th.
Fifth.
Oh, gosh.
So we're gonna
17.
try to have a long meeting, one big long one, and probably so we'd have a dinner break or something.
Be like the 19th.
So that we can plan ahead. That's what we're doing at the end of the meeting here.
You've already got
There's 6 on there.
conditional use permits,
Plus-
and I've actually got 2 already scheduled for the August 2nd, because I didn't want to take and have any more than 6 hearings on any given committee day, because that gets to be a lot. So I think it would be August 2nd. So,
it'd be,
So it makes a big difference. If we can just meet those conditions in the next week with working with these guys. If you set these conditions that we need to meet and we meet them with Jason and Logan, then we should be good to go on as far as what has you guys concerned right now.
well, what do you guys, I'm. It's almost like an incomplete,
It is incomplete.
that we have to have this information sooner. I mean, you should have.
and there's no guarantee you're gonna get a building inspector out there next week anyway.
Well, even 2 weeks, I guess I'm trying to understand what the difference would be to come back here
Because then we'd have all the information.
but we can get that information to Jason.
Yeah, but it's a conditional use
approved
permit.
here,
It goes to the committee, not just to one person.
for
So
example,
that's kind
let's
of-
say there was a shared well.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's say that there was some kind of a shared well agreement and that with that neighboring property owner, the committee, and that might put a condition on there and that please work out an agreement or, have the neighbor sign off and that they're able to take and use their well for now this new commercial rental, in that business.
Yeah.
And that the committee might find out and that maybe there's an encroachment, and that of somebody else's stuff on their property. And that they might find out, maybe the driveways over the lot line a little bit with the survey, you know, so I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things in that that the committee might want to condition.
And
With the
yeah,
new information, but
And
if
I
they create
completely
those
understand that.
conditions, it's pretty hard to create conditions when you don't know what the information is that you're trying to create a condition for.
I guess I'm saying if these conditions are met perfectly with what you're expecting them to be, that there are no encroachments, that it's not a shared well, and that the property gets
See, we don't
surveyed.
know
We
that
don't
yet.
know that.
If you don't know that, we could write,
Well, yeah, but if
1,000
then if those aren't
conditions.
met, then those conditions
But there's
aren't
other
met,
things
and then
that,
it would
like you said-
require another meeting,
there's things that could come up that we don't know.
which would require another meeting. Because then it would get turned
So
down.
this will, because it's incomplete, so
Yeah.
that's, I think that's what we're gonna, I don't know if we need a motion for that or by consensus, we'll have to move this one.
Need a motion.
Do we need a motion then to close this and move it to a date certain?
Move to a date certain, you know,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion
So
then.
Jason, at the very least, is there any way you can squeeze it in on the 17th or 19th, our next meeting in July versus the August?
I'll be honest with you, and that, I think, and that those other applicants should have a chance at that meeting then too, because they've already applied and I've already put them off that long. You know, so
But this was May 17th, so technically this one's before any of those.
Oh,
I
and
think the
Not
committee has determined that your application has been incomplete. So we do them that as we get the applications in and that, so once it's complete.
Okay. Well, just for future reference, I think it'd be beneficial to make sure that this is communicated clearly, that don't come to this meeting unless all this stuff is done.
yes,
A lot of
Yes.
applicants work with local attorneys to make sure all the conditions that the committee is going to be asking are in the application.
Yeah.
And so that might be a really good way to have all the information, all the i's dotted and t's crossed.
Yeah.
Because it's not, the burden is on the applicant to prove that they can, you know, meet the conditions that the committee wants. And address all of the factors in the ordinance. And so I think that's the disconnect. They help as much as they can, but they can't, you know.
can't go for, and see, and right on here, it doesn't, and like, these people, they N8'd it. That's almost everything we wanted to have.
Yeah.
On the bottom of the page. You know, a plan of the area and some footages, traffic and this, it didn't answer any of those, they answered the other conditions, which was good. But they didn't answer the next whole section. The additional information,
Doesn't apply.
yeah, they assumed it didn't apply, which it does. So, and that's, the other thing is, yeah, when they're coming in to ask for the amount of people, they have to prove that those are bedrooms. I mean, that's something they should do. If we give them a permit and then the health department comes and says, no, there's only 2. Now what happens? Now you gotta come back and straighten it all out again.
Yeah,
So I mean, it gets bounced back between a few departments.
yeah. See, and things like that kind of,
They slow the process down and make it, you lose a month at least. So,
We have a list of items that he needs, or that they need to bring back.
they need the site survey, the tank size, we know the amount of bedrooms, well, private, parking lot size and on a drawing. And then once the survey's there and stuff, we'll see it. So the number of bedrooms,
Well on there.
yeah, I put the well, site survey, the bedrooms, the well and the parking. And then if anything's wrong with the survey or anything, then we'll find that out when that comes.
For this meeting, there will be a recording of it posted online. I don't know how long that usually takes, but then they could also watch this portion of the meeting and hear,
See what.
Yeah,
we're looking
and that
for.
might help too.
Just for clarification, the bedrooms need to come from a certified building instructor, correct? Or inspector
Inspector, yes,
For that count.
for that.
to that town,
Yeah.
because then the health inspector. I think they all, but that's the 3 different entities that have to check it, or
Right.
2 that check the inside. Or the outside part. Because I don't know if building inspector and health have the same numbers too sometimes,
Probably not.
probably not. Probably not. All right, so I'll entertain a motion then.
So I'll make a motion to push this to the August 2nd meeting.
I'll second.
Second by Brad. Any other questions or anything? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, on the sec.
Nice. All right, you ready to go to the next one?
Yes.
Okay. Secluded Land Co. LLC request to rezone from agricultural 20 A2 to agricultural 10 A1 for a parcel located at 2001 Polk Barron Street in section 24, town 35 north, range 15 west, town of Johnstown. The parcel number is 028-00-597-0000. It's 48.92 acres in size. And Claire has it up. So the property does have lake access to Staples Lake, which is a class 3 lake. There is a town road, Polk Barron Street, that separates basically the back lots where they would be actually buildable from the lake. The property has 2 wetlands on it. There's one wetland kind of up here in this northwest corner. And then right underneath this text here, this kind of darker area, that's a wetland. Those are the only wetlands on the property. There is no floodplain on the lake. The property owners, the Laos right here, currently own that parcel. Secluded Land Company is wanting to purchase the property to be able to subdivide it underneath the current zoning of A2, and that they can only create 2 lots based on the density of 1 lot per 20 acres. Underneath the A1 zoning district, what they want to go to, they could create up to 5 lots if they want to. I believe the applicant is proposing 4 lots.
8 times.
Yeah, 8 on that.
See, so anyway, I think that's changed, so. On a class 3 lake, and that a riparian parcel, so one that has frontage on the water. It has to be 250 feet in width and 100,000 square feet in size. Basically, I believe that that'll make 2 to 3 lots north of the house that exists there currently, and then 1 lot to the south. Non-riparian lots would be back down and that to the 1 acre minimum size limitation. Of course, if they go over the 4 lots, then they're gonna have to go through the major plating requirements and that, which will be back before the committee here. If it's 4 lots or less and that, then it's just a normal minor subdivision review process internally. That original house lot was split out in 2006. So that was quite a while ago. And the town of Johnstown approved the zoning change to A1. And I'll read the exhibit, but the county did provide a proper class 2 notice prior to the hearing. And we did not receive any comments back, except with what we have is the current owner, the Laos, and that in exhibit 1. And they're allowing Paul with Secluded Land Company to speak on their behalf. It was an email from May 10th. And it goes like this, and that, sir, we, Tim and Jean Louth, are agreeable that Mr. Paul Garol, and I might did a bad job on that, but who is an employee of Secluded Land Company, operates as our agent in the rezone process of the 50.03 acres that we own in section 24, zoning to go from Ag 20 to Ag 10. Mr. Paul Garol's agency to expire 7/30 of 23. And then it was signed Tim. And then exhibit 2 was the May 9th, 2023 Town of Johnstown monthly board minutes. And the rezoning portion of this is A request was presented by Secluded Land Company to rezone parcel 028-00-597-0000 located on the west side of Staples Lake from A20 to Ag 10 to accommodate a proposed land division. Discussion was had for clarification of request. Motion by Zaspel to approve the proposed request from rezoning of parcel 028-00-597-0000 from Ag 20 to Ag 10 to accommodate a proposed land division of said parcel. Seconded by Woe, motion carried. So that was the minutes from that town meeting. With that, that's all I've got. We didn't receive any other comments on it.
No comments, all right. Yeah,
So Jason, just if I can,
yeah.
is there a house on there currently?
Yes, well, not on the parcel that we're talking about, and that the house was on this small
Okay.
parcel, and that was subdivided in 2006.
what was that zone when it was split off? Is that zone res or? Oh, wait,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna guess it was probably just underneath the county's general ag zoning back then, because that was before the comprehensive rewrite. So the town of Johnstown is one of those towns that did use the Ag 10 and Ag 20 zoning classifications to, have more control and more power. So this whole area here is all Ag 20. And that there is a bar, restaurant right here and a campground. So there is some recreational residential uses. These are all houses. So there's quite a few smaller lots right there by the bar. So
So there's not actually lake access because there's a road that goes between the lake and those lots up there you would be creating, right?
and that they will have owned access down to the lake and that where they'd be able to have a dock. So, yep. They just have the road in between them and the lake. So.
I'm just thinking back to last meeting when on Big Lake. Is there enough for them that it's not road right away?
cool.
I'm just asking the question
Right.
because, yeah, I know exactly where that road goes. Now that we're talking about it, but as far as the cabins or houses or whatever, will not be built between the road and the lake. They'll be built on the west side of that road that runs along there.
Yep, correct. I don't know. To be honest with you, you'd have to go out there in the field and actually pull the tape. It's probably likely though, and that we are 33 feet or less from the center of the road to the lake, especially on the south end here. So one could possibly access the lake there, and that off from that. So, but they would still have the underlying ownership. Whereas I think down on Big Lake, the one we were talking about there is road had been platted out and it was owned by the town. I think that's the main difference in that, whereas they've actually got owned right away, if you will. So,
So does our 300 foot from the lake overlay also fit on this?
Well, and that the R1 zoning does not apply because Staples Lake is class 3 lake. So that was only on class 1s that we did the R1 300-foot buffer.
Okay, that was only a class.
Yep.
All right, this is a class 3, okay,
Class 3.
all right.
And you're thinking that they don't want an 8 lot, you're thinking
We're
they
gonna have
want,
him come up.
oh.
Yeah,
gotcha.
with them.
Are you still here? Are you? Oh, you still
So,
on, Jason?
Jason?
Yep.
One more question. Any idea how large the wetland area is total?
It's relatively small.
Okay.
And that, so I would say that maybe in the middle here, it's an acre. And then this here is a larger wetland up in here that kind of feeds into there, maybe another 1/2 to 3/4 of an acre. So
Is the lake Barron County?
half of it.
Half of it, that's
Half
how
of
they
it.
work that out,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
That's the mess.
Okay.
All right, let's have the applicant come up.
If it does matter in that the other half of the lake is much more developed than the Polk County half for
Yes.
whatever reason. So.
Copy of the map here, which I'm most recent.
Visual.
Thank you.
Got one left. Okay. Paul Giroux with Secluded Land Company. I'll try to hit the main questions you had. On the road situation, there is an existing survey probably 15 years old. I don't have a copy with me, but it shows a 49.5 foot right of way with property to the east, on the lakeside, to the east of it. So the existing survey does show ownership outside the road right away, like you were asking. If you look at the plan I handed out, so this has been a process. Our original application was for A5, which would allow us 9 lots. As we dug in deeper and proceeded to work on it, we reduced the density to what you see here. And at that point, we changed our application with Jason to A20, A10. So from A20 to A10, because that was all we needed to accomplish this.
To get this door.
Yeah, so we are requesting, that would, A20 would allow us, or A10, excuse me, would allow us 5 lots. So our 4-acre plan will fit in that zoning. The wetlands, I have a wetland scientist out there today from Flambeau Engineering, Tiffany. So shortly, if wetlands are concerned, we will have a wetland map showing size and, you know, what the wetland consists of, upland or sedge or whatever it might be.
Looks like you got 90% of it on one lot.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, the 4 lots, the building sites are going to be top of ridge on the lake. And these, you know, what is it, 250 by 3 acres is the minimum requirement on the class 3. So these 4 lots all meet that or exceed that requirement. The back acreage is just going to be recreational land for. So that's basically what we did. We eliminated a plan for higher density in back. We originally had 4 lots back there. We eliminated them. There was another question in the beginning and now I can't remember what it was.
There's no floodplain, the road. Existing owner I have, otherwise. No, I think the other was the like over 300 feet, so that didn't apply. 4 lots from 8. So that fits the A10, does it not then? Okay, or do we have any more questions of that?
Yeah, this is 50 acres total, the property.
It is, okay,
So the portion we're purchasing, so
okay.
that's how I got to 5 lots would be allowed under A10, 10 acres.
Okay.
This, as Jason mentioned, keeps us out of a more intensive plating requirement and still meets our needs. They're going to be fairly expensive lots with the expectation they'll build right above the road and have a view of the lake and then access to the lake and a dock.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, if not, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Paul, can I have a copy of that map?
Sure can.
Exhibit? Since it was handed out.
changed slightly from.
That's changed, yeah.
So that'll be exhibit 3 then, right?
Yes, so the map that he handed out to you guys would be exhibit 3.
And I also would like to note that that was presented to the town. And I think there's some language in there about approving our plan, you know, the development for 4 lots. That's based on that plan right there that they reviewed and approved.
Oh, do they have a planning commission?
No,
Oh, board, okay.
there wasn't any specific comments to this map, though. That's what I read to you a
Okay,
while.
yeah.
Yep, so. But this would only require a minor subdivision, so.
Sure. So under the zoning.
Claire, can you pull up the findings?
Did you check to see if there were any
Yeah.
comments? Yeah, I just put that in my.
Is there anybody else here to speak on this request? You? No? Okay.
So that would just be that he would take that on their application, it says 8, we just blank that out. For 4.
4, yep.
Okay.
We'll add that to a finding of fact too.
Sure.
We should add that.
It's down to 4 lots, all right. Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
so.
go ahead. That's cool, yep.
For the findings, and that sounds like there's a little bit of acreage dispute, or not really a dispute, but they're saying it's 50 acres. Our GIS is showing it at 48.92 acres. So, but everything's gonna be surveyed, so that's not a concern. Property is in the town of Johnstown. And that underneath current zoning, they can make the 2 lots. Underneath the new zoning, they could do up to 5. I'll take and add into there and that the applicant is seeking to do 4 lots. And that the town of Johnstown approved the rezone request. Staples Lake, class 3 lake, riparian parcels need to be 250 feet in width, 100,000 square feet in size. Surrounding land is zoned A2, but there is some other residential, commercial, and other types of uses in the area. 2 wetlands on the property, no floodplain, it's accessed by a town road, Polk Street. And the property was originally split from the original government lot to create that house lot in 2006. And that the county provided the class 2 notice required for this hearing. So that one modification there for the 4 lots. Any other findings that you'd like to add?
With the wetlands and all that. The survey will prove all the other things, so I think we're good, pretty good.
They got 51 acres on these lots that are here.
The survey will get it.
Yep. Okay, I haven't done that. Yeah, yeah, because minimum lot size is gonna be that 2.33 acres, so, you know, and it looks like they're all proposed much larger, so. We've seen a couple of different maps of proposals now, but that one being an exhibit now will be tied to the rezone, so.
Tied to the rezone.
For a general layout. Okay, so with that, if you don't have anything else, we can go into the conclusions of law. Changing of the rezoning to A1, Ag 10 is supported by the town of Johnstown. The surrounding area is mainly residential, recreational area. So it's my opinion that rezoning of it would comply with the comprehensive plan that the county has, the existing and surrounding land uses, and would not have a negative public impact because it's being served by that town road for an extra 4 houses, basically. So we'd recommend approving of the rezone and that to the full county board.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezone.
Second.
Happen to be coming to this door, huh?
We have to put in that it's 4 lots, or do we just do the rezone part?
I think he's putting that in the.
I'm putting it in the findings. Yep.
We put it in the findings, but we don't need it in the motion. then, do we?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Or Tracy,
Tracy.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah. make
Yep,
her go
you got it.
first, yes, I'll get her. Okay, all those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So one goes through. On our consent agenda at the next. Board.
Correct, July.
Resolution will be up for that. Yeah.
Well, moving right along, quick update. We've Vince brought this up last night. The workshop through Center of Land Use Education.
Yep.
UW Extension. July 13th, we have a couple signed up. Remember, this is for you. This is for elected officials, plan commissioners, St. Croix County is invited as well. As far as this committee, so far, I think all we have is you, Kim, registered.
It's a town board night.
Is it really?
We wanted to go. It's a town board night.
What's the board? Take the whole board, bring them all.
Yeah,
Well, I don't think they all want to go, but yeah.
Well, that's
Move your meeting.
you could piggyback your regular meeting and then I'll adjourn to this meeting. Justin, you interested?
I am, but that's our fire meeting midnight.
There's a meal. Pitched that last night. No one really.
Brad's going for the. meal.
Brad.
I'm in.
Brad.
I'm in.
Mr. Rowdy, you're next.
I just got it last night. I'm gonna,
Think about it.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I
And
know
I mean,
that.
these
I
gals
know.
are really good at doing this. They've been doing it,
I'll actually be around that day, so.
oh yeah, with the suit on
No,
raw.
the paparazzi can do it.
I trust the suit.
Coat
My
tie.
God.
That's almost
Yeah.
scary.
Coat
Well-
tie, I bet.
How about the
And
board of
maybe wear the-
adjustment? Did any of them?
I think they're all going.
They're all gonna go.
DOA as a whole, yeah. And then, like I said, a lot of the town officials.
It's really a
Cities-
good opportunity for the town officials, you know, and that we've seen the deal going on with the Smiths and Apple River and that, and, you know, the town kind of going back and forth and that, or hopefully, and that's, some of those members will be able to join. It's really to provide guidance and that, so you know what you're supposed to be looking at for any kind of planning documents, land use decisions, and then how you make sound decisions that are gonna be supportive. And I think it'll take a lot of the pressure off from you guys as elected officials, whether at the county or town or city level. And that to take and be able to fall back and say, oh, well, here's what we had, this is what Crew is saying, you know, and that, so.
I mean, when
There
they're-
hasn't been one up in this area for probably
Decade.
7-8 years, I'm gonna guess. And that, and the last one was Dunn County, you know, so that's still a little bit of a jog. So it's very good opportunity, something that's rare. I mean, we probably won't have another chance at it for many years again, so.
And some of the learning objectives really applied to what we just experienced today. I mean, we're gonna talk about conditional use permits, rezones, how to make consistent decisions. I'm sure they're gonna pull out a decision form similar to the one that's in your packet.
Yep, they have different ones.
You know, and then networking.
2008 was the last time they printed.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Do they tape these or no?
no.
You know, coincidentally, there is a webinar, I believe a week or two after, which I can send you. We just got notified of that. In fact, Shabana pointed it out as well. So that's something we can send you. But really, the value is to be there in person. And again, sort of an ancillary benefit is networking with your colleagues, other elected officials through all the other towns, villages and cities, as well as St. Croix County. We're expecting a good turnout. And again, it's designed for you folks. So far, just a quick inventory. Kim, yes. Brad, yes. Doug, you'll get back to me.
Contact you. I just gotta check.
Okay.
My wife has go on there already, so.
Oh, does he? Does he?
Mark him down.
So we'll call Wendy and like, yo, Wendy.
She's planning an alone night.
We also have Malia signed up. right?
I'm gonna try to go, yeah.
Malia and perhaps Vince.
I'm in.
Vince. Yep.
You say free food and I'm always in.
Is that?
I'll get back.
You'll Get back to me? Okay.
Can I use your suit?
Only if the air conditioner doesn't work at drop time.
Thank you. As promised, in your packet was the Polk Burnett memorandum. And their additional requests, in particular is the exemption of several provisions for the smaller scale solar arrays, you know, the 0 to 5 megawatts. Also, you know, in particular, the, you know, the requirement to provide a maintenance log schedule to zoning. And as mentioned, I put it or penciled it in November during ordinance amendment season. So if your colleagues on the county board Question? Recommendation and what we've done, you can,
Well, they can read this too.
I
yeah.
can read that
So-
too,
so
yeah.
the police said it's gonna be on there. The funny thing is, he says tiny scale, but the tiny scale, 0 to 5 is 10 acres of expand and stuff. So I don't think they understand what tiny is. I mean, that's what I think we have to define for these people.
have you been by the Georgetown site,
I
anyone?
haven't been up there yet.
It's
but
coming together, it's pretty much, looks like it's almost functional.
That's moving right along.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Work plan real quick, July. And this sort of is a good transition into the next agenda. For July 19th, we have Eric coming. Be really quick. We have to do the 5-year review of the land and water resource management plan, the 10-year plan. The CUP for Blue Rock Quarry, it's been a year. So that will be on the agenda. Whether or not the applicants have done all that research and collected information for your consideration by that deadline. Is in question?
and the Blue Rock, Malia, will we need a closed session for that before? Or-
I don't think we'll need a closed session.
Okay,
Unless something happens between now and then. So I'll just keep communicating with Bob.
okay, in case something,
We'll
'Cause they
reach out to
could-
the applicants and that ahead of that meeting and that to see if they've got any supporting documentation. And then we would just simply open it because you guys had postponed it for 1 year, so. That was June 29th. So
so for us then, we would just say it was an incomplete and it's,
We'll talk about it then.
no, all right.
Which is a good, again, transition to agenda item 11. So I get the sense that the July 5th meeting will not take place. And so we're looking at,
If you're here,
I'll be here.
everybody else, but we could schedule that, but I don't think you.
We appreciate that because it'd be nice to catch up, committee work does take some time. And so, yeah, you're looking at July 19th. Like Jason mentioned earlier, on the draft agenda, we have six tourist rooming house CUP applications, 4 of which are postponements. And then 2 new ones. One on Long Lake and one on Antler. Yeah. And then he mentioned like today's CUP from the RUPS will be pushed to August 2nd, along with the 2 other new ones that have come.
there's probably gonna be another one on that one as well. So I mean, our hearings are a lot, so.
Yeah, so we should almost plan then like on the 19th,
A break or,
a break or say 11:30 or 12, and then we just say here, we take 45 minutes, we can eat or do something. For a break, I guess.
you could
If
probably,
it's gonna drag that long, it might go to 2:30 or 3.
you could arrange for a lunch if you'd like.
Or something like that.
I'll whip something up.
Sorry, I can't be here that day.
So we're all gonna get a hot dog on a stick.
Bologna, my special.
Spam.
Hey, don't knock
Here we go.
spam. That's good stuff.
So what you're saying is you do circus food.
And the clowns.
You guys are killing me, but I'll see what I can do.
Wow.
Right.
That, it's gonna be that long of a meeting almost, isn't it?
I don't
Well-
What
know.
else is on?
No, I
the
mean,
side?
those 4 were postponed.
Yeah,
And
So-
that, since you guys originally had your first hearing on it, we've got complaints on at least 2 of them, possibly 3 of them, that they're operating and that without permits.
oh,
And that, so that might weigh in on your guys' decision too, so.
just a little.
Yeah.
Well, again, and then the decision form encourage you, Kim, in particular, to read the questions verbatim. I mean, that's what's there to help you, and that would provide consistency. So
I think we have to have better questions. Then.
should we,
Some of them don't seem like they fit right.
should
or
we
something.
kind of
Does it?
rewrite them for you in terms of simplifying them, or?
They don't all apply, right?
We don't always.
Kind of.
Well, I'm just trying to think which. You know, heavy vehicle traffic use or increase, it's always gonna increase traffic, so.
So we could reframe that question.
Smoke, dust, toxic, I mean, is that what's in our?
Well, you could say like, what is the road? Is it
Mhm.
gravel? If you're having
Yeah.
lots of cars
Right.
coming for a gathering, are they gonna be kicking up dust? What, where's the parking? Is it all
Parking
impervious?
is a big one, I know that, but I mean, like on the front of the form where the people just innate their half their stuff.
Yeah.
You want us to kind of
I mean,
reframe those
do we
questions?
Or to what's on this? I mean, to go down this, our normal conditions.
That's
Well,
what I
all those-
tried to do, yeah.
And
That's
all
what
those
you're trying to go
questions,
down.
yeah, they
Okay.
apply to the criteria. Those
Yeah.
questions apply to the criteria. So
And almost everyone skips the additional information. They do not want to draw it. They don't want to show the steep slopes. They don't want, this one has a 30-foot drop.
That's what makes it.
They don't want to
incomplete.
show these wells and stuff, and they don't want to give us a well test. Public health asks for that. I mean, so we can ask for it too, but I mean, they should, when they bought the place, it should have been inspected and done. And then they all play dumb. I mean, that's just, I don't think people are that stupid, but they sure like to play that way. So I mean, that's some of the stuff. I think that next set of 5 down there,
So for example, like you guys did today to have the well tested, and that first criteria says the maintenance of safe and healthful conditions.
that's part of it.
And that, so you guys, and that, if you're concerned about whether or not it's safe drinking water, and that you could have that done, and it'd be fine, and that, I mean, City of Amory just did their work, and that about the E. coli in their water system,
They have
and
what?
that Balsam Lake, we had one a couple of years ago, and that, so you never know, so.
Well, we did the well, we're doing the watershed studies, and that's one of the areas there, where there was some nitrates high and some other stuff over that corner, I thought. So,
Yeah, you just have
but I
to-
mean, public health has to do it because you rent it to somebody. It's like a daycare or anything public, you have to test your water. So they should be bringing some of this stuff to us, because the first set of tourist rooming house, you had a shared well, you didn't get.
Yeah.
You couldn't be a tourist rooming house.
And we really do try to take and ask people for these, and that, but a lot of them don't want to take the time, and that, as you can see, it was purchased in March of 23. And that it was definitely, I got to get this rented, I want to get going,
Yeah.
and so they just jump right to the application and that without doing the supporting documentation. So I just want to be clear in that, I mean, Logan's name and Kara's name was brought up, and that we are telling them, hey, here's the application, you need all this stuff. But a lot of times we don't get it, so how long do we take and argue with them before we say, well, fine, we'll kick it to the committee, so.
Yeah, and it's up to them to provide it with
Exactly.
this stuff, and you can only tell them so many times. We need a drawing. Can you park 3 cars there?
Maybe on
Well,
the
yeah, you
bottom.
should be able to, but it's not supposed to be on the grass, it's supposed, and 2 boats, so I mean, yeah, so I mean, it isn't that hard to do.
Maybe
some
on the
these
bottom
things.
of this set of questions that they put NA by, maybe you
That
need
was
to
the one.
put on there a number 6 that says any incomplete information will be a denied application.
Well, even on things like circuit court forms, because we have, anybody can print off stuff to file a small claims or an injunction. Some type of disclaimer that this is a quasi judicial proceeding. And we encourage everyone to consult with attorney to determine whether their application is complete. They don't have to, but you're basically saying this isn't just a rubber stamp and giving them that upfront.
You'd like that language added, and that I can work with Malia on getting that language added, so.
Something-
think it would
think
help
Something
because-
has to be.
Something's
I mean,
gotta be added. We're getting too many incompletes.
Like we talked about, Jason, even when people come in for land use permits, you guys give very specific direction as to the next step the person needs to take, like contact your building inspector. Who does that? Nobody does that. The information is there, the phone number's there, but these people are not doing it. So it's the onus of the person applying for this to do it. So maybe that needs to be the next thing down. If they read it, if they don't read it, that's on them. The information is there, so they can't come to us then and say,
Put
"Well,
conditions on and move it forward. No,
yeah,
we don't know what the conditions are. Yeah. So I think, yeah,
this?
and like you said too, you can only tell them so many times.
mhm.
By the next meeting.
So,
It's like us plumbers,
They'll
when we
take
do our
10
stuff,
minutes.
we're stuck in our way and you gotta tell us how to change the form. So,
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
I will work with Malia and that to get the wording right and we'll do that.
Yeah.
So we'll do it to all of our
There's
forms.
obviously no need for a closed session.
No
today.
need for a closed
I
session.
mean, nothing's changed since last night at county board. that I know of. But keep that on the agendas going
Will do.
forward.
yes.
With Jason, we postponed some of these tourist rooming houses. And you said that you've had contact that they're in violation.
Operating.
You not give them a conditional use permit because you're gonna give them a violation? Why are we letting that?
Are you
They don't
gonna
have any
issue a
permit.
citation? maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean, what to do really. I mean, it takes a lot of time to, follow up on these, and we end up going, I mean, it's hard for us because we don't work nights and weekends, so we end up going off from other people's emails and their word and their VRBO post and that shows that they got the calendar blocked out that they're renting, But yeah, I mean, they're definitely going through and doing it, so.
So we've received the complaints.
Yeah, I know.
We
but
haven't
that's-
validated them, but
That's
I
what
think
we've
that's
done all
what's gonna happen
along.
here too.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, I know you guys are so busy.
There's
I'm
not a
just saying.
permit for me to revoke right now, so the only thing I would be able to do would be able to cite, so. And our citations, I mean, it's 2-3 nights rent, so. It would be our maximum citation, so.
We have it, if you have any violations of stuff, you have to wait a year. Isn't
Yeah.
that in ours? Make them wait a year
That's on a revoked permit.
on a revoked permit.
Mhm.
It's gonna be on getting a permit too then. I mean, they're doing it.
We're not gonna stop.
Can the
this,
health back us
basically.
up a little? Does the health department have any teeth in any of their stuff? That these people are renting in unsafe building?
Well, why don't we put that topic on an agenda?
We probably should, because health should be able to help us too then, a little bit, because now you're renting. to someone, what if a little kid gets sick? What if the water is bad?
My understanding with the health department is, and their administrative code is similar to like the building code and that if local zoning or another ordinance in that is not being met, then they can't issue their health department license, but then it gets pushed back on zoning. So same thing with like a building permit. You can't get a building permit till you've got a driveway permit, till you get your sanitary and your zoning
Yeah.
permits and everything's all met with the town and that before they can issue it. So and then there's a very similar clause in the health
Theirs,
department.
okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're doing it. And then walk in and ask for a permit, they're already doing it. That's a little.
Well, do you put that as
You
one
bring
of
up
the questions?
Grancious,
huh?
I think
you
it
bring
is.
up Grancious
If
or
they're doing it?
Granicus.
I think there's a deal. I
Wow.
thought there was something in our ordinance.
It's in
that
an
said-
AFR.
No, I mean on this.
Oh,
Before you approve their application, do you put a question
It
on
is an
here?
agenda
Have
Is
item
there any
you,
on the next
citations?
meeting,
have
maybe.
you rented?
Just say that it's
have
out
you
there, I don't know.
previously-
or have you had any complaints?
I don't know, it's a budget item. I
Is
don't
that
know.
one of
There's
the,
previous outstanding violations, but they're not outstanding.
Where'd you see
Well,
that, Brad?
Would be-
there would be.
There's some software,
Where
but
did you see that?
it's an AFR we can talk about.
Additional funding.
Oh,
Ah, Look
where's
at me
that on?
learning the acronyms.
But you go on the internet and get Polk County for the RVs, it's like 500 places. You just go like.
I mean, the only way you can verify that they're renting it, even if it hasn't blocked out, they could just say, we blocked that out for ourselves.
Or we blocked it out because we
For a
know we can
friend.
only rent 7 days.
Right. So you'd almost have to go out there and see.
Yeah.
Well, these ones, we've got reviews and that have been submitted in the last
Oh, after
month.
they're- and got
Oh,
reviews, so,
fire up.
okay, so they were-
Saying that they've rented it, and yeah,
Okay,
so.
that's pretty good proof, I guess.
All right.
Just the
I guess we'll have to bring that little round piece of wood with a hammer here and do the gavel. That'll be interesting. What else is on our work? The budget stuff is starting. Is that what was July?
That's in July as well.
That's the budget development. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where we're at on that. It's on the budget calendar. I'm guessing we've been talking it through. We have a different process, so finance might be delivering something. I'm not sure what that'll look like, but
If they want you to cut 10% or something like that. He said we're getting more money, we should raise it 10.
We're getting more, but not enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
What
think,
we're gonna do.
I think what we hope to do over the next several months is kind of update each of the committees on where we are, what it looks like. Because right now, every committee says, hey, we want you to get what you need, director. And our job is to say, we got to look at the total picture here and say, what's the situation? So that we have a better ability to make the right decision on who gets what.
Well,
But it is going to be tight this year. I
with the
can tell you that.
50% saved and stuff and how many overruns, I mean, with the building overruns, we haven't had that final yet, have we?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have overruns on the building. I think we're coming in under budget or right at budget.
How about the roof? What do you
It's
guys like the smell of that?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
it's
know
terrible.
over there.
Oh, you drive by and it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh, they
strong.
did the government or the justice.
They are,
Center?
but it's been what, 2 weeks?
I feel really bad for the folks that are working on the roof with the bad air and then,
The heat,
oh, I can't even imagine.
but the smell, it's like the seal coating, but I mean, it's just twice as intense because you can.
Yeah,
it's
strong. I
intense
was
when
there
you drive
yesterday.
by. But now is that staying under budget? Or we don't know yet?
I don't know yet on that. No.
But I mean, with some of the vehicles that went over, some other things that went over, we should be
Yeah, I think our,
kind of getting so that we know
I
that we're
think
not.
the directors do a great job of keeping themselves in line. The challenge are things that's out of their control, like inflation, employees that need health benefits paid for and that type of thing. That's where we're finding the big expense this year and last
We're having
year.
trouble with health stuff.
Well, it's not on the topic.
Yeah,
but
I think we're having a meeting.
I thought we had so much money in the health fund that we were.
That's no
taking
longer
money
the
out.
case.
We'll go over that later.
Mm,
So Bob, how many employees do you need? 3? That's the budgetary thing.
well, we were talking earlier about countywide assessor and a countywide building inspector.
I'd be totally on page with an inspector. I'm not kidding you.
I would, they don't come now, so why would you get a county? But how about
Because
the
a
planner?
county's gonna be on page. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Where these independent ones, what do they have to answer to? They're not answering to anybody.
That's why you don't write the check to them.
Well, I don't write a check anyways, but seriously.
Well, when you give out building permits, you don't get the check till you do the work. See what they say.
Anybody want to do a motion to adjourn?
Sharon's not here.
Sharon's
not
not
here
here. We
yet.
can't, we got to
Open
stay.
session forever.
You're lost.
Yeah, just keep going.
You're
We
lost.
gotta stay.
Vince, you have something to point, are they gonna be on this committee, do we assume? Just for
Well,
everybody.
I normally, in the past practice has been whoever gets added will fill in
Well,
Sharon's
she had to
position.
go whichever committee she was on.
That's been the practice in the past, and
Okay.
certainly that would be up to the, I suppose, the chairman and the executive committee to debate that if they wish, but.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Guys.
Now what are you gonna do, Ken? You got